Hey howdy hey, how's everybody doing and welcome back to Disney Daily. Mirabel Madrigal has become a beloved character overnight and it's easy to see why. She embodies everything we look for in a good protagonist. She is a fierce heroine who stops at nothing to save the family's casita as well as her family's powers. It is because of her popularity and likability that many Disney fans are wondering, does this mean she will be the newest Disney princess added to the lineup? This is definitely not an easy, straightforward answer. In fact, it's more complex than I think most Disney fans realize. So in today's video, I will dive into why Mirabel may or may not be added to the official Disney princess lineup. Now, before I jump into my own theory about whether or not she will be a Disney princess, let's first turn to the official Disney princess criteria. As some of you may already know, there are two tiers of criteria that the Disney heroine must fulfill in order to be considered a Disney princess. The first tier is very simple to understand. The female lead must fit into one of the three categories: royalty by birth, royalty by marriage, or perform a significant act of heroism. Currently, there are 12 official Disney princesses, and each one of them meets at least one of those requirements. For example, Rapunzel is royalty by blood, Belle is royalty by marriage, and Mulan is a princess because she performed a significant act of heroism. Now, when we look at this set of criteria, it is easy to establish that Mirabel isn't royal by blood, nor does she marry into a royal family. Although her family is well-liked and is arguably the most important in town, she isn't royalty in any way, shape, or form. Even though she is not royalty by birth or marriage, there is still the last requirement to consider, that being a significant act of heroism. Now, this was a very specific criteria carved out specifically for Mulan. It opens the door for other future female leads to become a princess, including Mirabel. A significant act of heroism is, in my opinion, up for interpretation. I mean, honestly, there are a lot of instances that would represent a significant act of heroism. In this case, I would argue that Mirabel, in more ways than one, demonstrated just that. She sacrificed herself to save the candle almost being killed when the casita collapses, she brought back her family's powers, and she was able to bring them all closer together as a family. So let's assume, based on my observation, that Mirabel fits the bill. What's next? Well, here is where the second tier of criteria comes into play. Once a princess qualifies in at least one of the aforementioned ways, she must satisfy all of the requirements in tier 2. The criteria consists of the following. 1, the female lead must be human or human-like. 2, she must be the lead or primary role in the movie. 3, she cannot be introduced in a sequel. And 4, the movie she is in cannot overperform or underperform at the box office. The first 3 are an easy check mark in the box for Mirabel. She is clearly a human, a lead character in the movie, and she wasn't introduced in a sequel. But what about that fourth requirement, about the movie's performance at the box office? Well, after many readings, I have concluded that Encanto did not underperform, nor did it overperform at the box office. Now, there are a lot of variables at play, such as the fact that the movie is still playing in theaters, but to keep it simple, Encanto has performed fairly well, and that's all you need in order to be considered for Disney royalty. Okay, so now that we have gone through the official list and Mirabel has hypothetically met all of the requirements, I am going to give you both arguments for why I think she will be added and why I think she won't. In regards to her becoming a Disney princess, I think it's way more attainable than many think. You see, Disney's princess criteria is ever-changing, and it has actually always been that way. Here are my two biggest examples of Disney's rules not being set in stone. The first is one I have already mentioned, the significant act of heroism. This was only added so that Mulan could join in the lineup. If the criteria hadn't been added, then Mulan would never appear alongside the other Disney princesses. The second example does not deal with the addition of a requirement, but rather taking a character out of the Disney princess lineup. Many of you may not know this, but Tinkerbell used to be a part of the Disney princess lineup up until the year 2005. Many believe she was taken off because they were preparing to launch their fairy line and they needed/wanted Tinkerbell to be the face of it. All of this is to say that rules are always changing. So even if people aren't convinced she performed a significant act of heroism, Disney can carve out a new requirement at any time to ensure she joins. So this is part of the reason for why I think it's possible she will be the next Disney princess. Another strong argument I have for adding Mirabel is the representation it would add to the lineup. Currently, none of the official Disney princesses are of Latin descent. Yes, we do have the beautiful Elena, but currently she is not a part of the lineup. So I think it would be a powerful move by Disney to add a princess of Latin descent into the mix. I myself am of Latin descent and would love to see a princess who I identify with be represented. Mirabel would also be the first princess to wear glasses, which I also think is important in terms of representation. I think it is essential to show little ones growing up with glasses that you too can be a princess. I do think the argument for her becoming a princess is a bit stronger, but I will now give my reasoning for why she may not become a princess. The biggest reason for why I think she will remain separate is I don't think Disney will want to separate Mirabel from her huge, lovable, and entertaining family. I think for previous Disney princess movies, it made sense to add them to the lineup because there weren't that many characters in the film who brought a lot to the table or that got a whole lot of screen time. But Encanto is very different. Mirabel's family is very much at the forefront of the story, and fans have fallen in love with each family member for different reasons. So I could see why it would be weird to take Mirabel off merchandise with her family just to stick her alongside the other princesses. The family Madrigal is a unit, and I can see why it would be hard to separate them. Well, that concludes this episode of Disney Daily. Let me know your thoughts about whether or not you think she will become a Disney princess. I hope you learned something new in this video, and as always, thanks for being my guest here at Disney Daily. Until next time.